Okay, it appears that someone's posted a problem on the Code Igniter Facebook group, and I thought it'd be a good idea if we took a look at this and see what we can make of it, and see what the problem is, and also any improvements we can make. So the first thing we're going to do is to grab the code that's been kindly provided, which makes things nice and easy for us. So I'm just going to grab the stuff off the Facebook post and build this up. So just looking through this, and I'm not showing this on the recording, I'll just copy it and we'll just create the files as we go. So the first thing we have is the controller code, so let's grab that. It looks like this is it. So obviously this person's just learning, so that's fine. When playing in the welcome.php file in the controller, so we'll just copy as much as we can of what they've done. Alright, so we'll just delete all this and we'll paste in what they've given us, and I'll just fix this up. Oh, we got a bit too much there. Alright, that's kind of it. Now I'm using PHP Storm, and as you can see here, the input has been flagged as not being found. If you're using PHP Storm, one quick little trick to fix these little issues is to define the property. Now you may find this annoying. I find it good because it actually documents your code. So I'll spell this properly. Property, CI input, which is that one. Oop. Got the wrong one. Let's try that, and input. And you'll see now that PHP Storm is fully aware of what it is. So we've defined what the actual CI file is and what we're referring to it as in the file. So now I can find all the methods, or PHP Storm can find all the methods associated with the input class now. Alright, so we've got too many little brackets here. Let's get rid of those. Alright, so that is the default controller. Okay, don't think we need to tidy this up any. That'll do it. Oh, I've got my formatting different on this one. Alright, that's not a problem. Okay, just that the braces come down here. I usually have them up here, but that's not a problem for now. Okay, so just looking through this. Alright, this looks like to be a AJAX handler, so we'll just say AJAX handler from the form, which we haven't defined yet. So we've been given the view for the form, so I'm just going to grab that now. We've got all this. I'm going to have to do a few more things here to get this working. He's also modified the default welcome view, that's fine. So we'll do the same. And we'll just change all this up and reformat it. Ooh, what's happened here? Well, you can't go doing that. So first thing to do is to remove that. Now the reason I'm going through this is to show you how to set up someone else's code and also how to mainly debug, which is the whole point of the exercise here. So alright, just looking through this, we're going to need some Bootstrap, which I don't have yet, but we will go get that. Let's go find Bootstrap. I'll just bring that down here on this screen, and I'll just go Bootstrap and get Bootstrap. Alright, I'm going to download it, and we just want to download Bootstrap, and it's on its way, and it's here. So we'll go to the folder, show in folder. Oh, I've already got it. So what are we up to? 337, this guy. So I'm just going to grab these files out of the Bootstrap download, copy, and come back to here. Now I'm going to create I'm going to change these folder names that he's got here. That's not a big deal. I'm going to call it assets. And where did that end up? There it is. And we'll paste our files into there. So now we'll just say yes to all. Okay. So now we've got our Bootstrap files. Okay, now let's have a look here. One of the things you should do in CodeIgniter is use the base underscore URL. But I'm just going to try not using that for now, because we'll see what happens. So all my references to what this folder was, I'm going to change it to assets. We're just going to break things. We'll just do this for now. Whoops, don't need that one. And replace all. That's going to affect our JS files. So that wasn't overly clever, but not to worry. Now I don't have that main JS file. That's fine. And one thing I've noticed is there's no jQuery. So what I'm going to do for the time being, I don't have it installed here, so I'm going to cheat just very quickly, and I'm just going to go down to the basic template, because they have a nice little reference here. I'm just going to grab that for now, and we're going to put that in. That has to go in first, so we'll just put that there. So now we have some JavaScript happening. Now I'm just going to run this and see what it looks like. So far everything looks fairly good in regards to the file names. Have I caught all the links? Alright, we'll soon check that. This is part of the debug stage. Okay, so we'll refresh this and we get a login form. Now when you are developing CodeIgniter, PHP, whatever you're using for doing website stuff, it is always a good idea to view the page source and just check that your links are working. There's a couple of ways to do this. This is the old-fashioned way, and you just sort of click on the links, and if you see something, it means it's found it okay. So, and that's found that. No, it hasn't. It has not found that at all, because yes, we don't have the main.js file. That's fine, and the Bootstrap, that's found, so that's all good. The other way to do that, if you've got Firebug, I'm using Firefox here. Refresh. Okay, so I'm in Firebug. I've clicked on Console All, and I've refreshed the page, and it's complaining that we don't have the main.js file. Okay, I don't know what's in there. That wasn't provided, so I'm just going to see how we fly here. I'm going to just remove that out of here for now, so we don't get any errors, because we don't like errors. Errors are bad. Well, errors are good. It means we've got to go find out why they're there and fix them. Alright, so what have we got going on here? Alright, that's all happy now. Alright, so we'll just go right back and have a look at this. This is the first time I've actually looked at this, so let's just check a few things. Now, the initial issue this person has is no values are in my controller. I am not getting any values in my controller. Okay, let's just have a look. So we're doing an AJAX call here. We have a button. So that button is this guy. So that is referring to this ID of S button. So when we click on that, we're detecting a click event here, and then we are retrieving the values from the form and sending that through. So we should be able to see what this is actually doing. Let's do a little success thing here. Let's go. We'll just do a console.log data. that will probably not work. I also got to see what's in that controller. So what are we sending back? Okay, so at this stage all this code is doing is doing an AJAX call and then bouncing it back. Okay, alright, let's just go see what it does. Let's go Fred at fred.com, something stupid, and some made up password, and we'll submit. Now that's interesting. Now the fun part with AJAX is, well, first what we want to see is, I don't like all lots of fun, but I prefer to use console messages. We all have our own preferences. So obviously we'll just double check this. We'll go console.log, and we'll say detected the button, the submit button was clicked. This is a little bit verbose. Okay, so we'll do that, and if we get a success, alright, so we're posting, we got the URL, we got the data. That should just about work. One thing we can do is this. Alright, so we'll actually go and visit that URL and see what it gives us back. Oops, I did miss the slash. Alright, and that's good. That's what the print R is doing. But I'm suspecting we need to do a JSON encode and send that back. Alright, so just thinking here. Let's just go back. And submit. Right. Ooh. Okay, I've done something bad here. I know what I've done. I haven't enabled this yet. Plus, I haven't defined it, so I'll quickly do that. Now, I'm just going to try a couple of things here, and this is what you should always do. Try a couple of things. So I'm going to go into the I'm going to go into my config and go auto load. Now I never remember anything, so I'm just going to load the URL helper. Now you can do that here. I'm just going to do it here just because I can. No real reason. And we're going to load the helper. Oop. And let's see what that gives us. So I'm going to refresh. I'm going to just make up some stuff here. Submit. Still doesn't love us. Alright. This is a fresh install, by the way, so I haven't really sat down and done anything with it yet. Now, why didn't both URL load? Well, what we do is, can we find this thing? Control B. Here we go. It's in the URL helper. Base URL. Something's gone terribly wrong here. Alright, let's go back and have a look. Alright, for some reason that is not rendering properly. So let's go have a look. Now, this person's using short tags. Normally, you should really put the full thing in. That's why it wasn't working. Alright, so first clue there was it was just writing out that as a string. It wasn't actually executing it. So let's go back and fix that. So we've got two choices here. Now, you should really use the full PHP tag if you're going to do the echo. Another little trick is you can just do this. So using the equal sign is the same as saying this. Okay, so they're the same thing. This is the shorthand, and this is enabled on all servers now, so you shouldn't have any issues with that. So what we're doing there is saying echo the result back from the base URL. Just one more improvement on this is to put this in here. and we can get rid of that. So let's just look at this now. We've got our base URL. We've put the actual content of the link inside it because it is a function, and it does take that if you look at the Codeigniter user guide. Whether that looks nicer or not, that's up to you, but either of those ways is good. There's no right or wrong. This is just another alternative. So let's go back. Let's reload our page. Alright, it's just whinging about passwords being unprotected. That's fine. And submit. Oh, look at that. So now we've got the detected come back, and we've got nothing. Alright, that was the initial problem. Okay, so what is going on here? Let's go have a look. So we're serializing this thing. Now, well, it's not posting anything. Okay, so we're posting... It's empty, which makes sense because it's coming back and telling us it's empty. So our email and password are not being filled in. Okay, let's see what we can see here. Alright, so we're in the... One thing I notice is there's no name fields. Okay, so we can ID the elements, but there's no way for the actual values to get retrieved. So what we're going to have to do is stick in what's called email, and we'll just cheat a little bit here, and we'll just put the name in here for password. Whoop, too many S's. Password. So now for each of the email and password, we've now stuck the appropriate names in. So let's see what this does. Okay, we'll just refresh because we should do that. I'll just put anything in here because there's no checking. Submit, and we're still getting nothing. Alright, let's go back. Let's go, what are we sending? This is curious. Alright. So, that's fine. We've got something going on here. So what we want to do now is see what we can see in regards to what's actually being retrieved. Okay, so we can say something like email is, just to be boring, and we can add on the value of email. Just checking that they are the correct IDs. Yep, that look to be good. Oh, we've got... Why have we got two IDs? You can't have that. That's not good. So let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of that. Alright, I'm still going to do this just to show you this. You know, if you really want to do this, we don't really require it here because we can sort of see the values. But this will just give us something else to look at. And we add in password. Okay, let's just see what that is. Oh, we haven't done this properly, have we? .log and .log. Oops, and we've got that in the wrong spot. That looks a bit better. Let's see what that does. Okay, so now we're getting the email and the password being sent. This is the bit coming back from the AJAX call. So we can see that they're there, but we can't see them here. This is what's coming back. Well, it's actually not that. This is the print R that's been run. Okay, so we've got a bit further now. So let's see what's happening in our... Oh, hang on. Oh, I see. Okay. This is curious. Now, I've not played with serialize much, but that means nothing. We can work out something here. So, when in doubt, look stuff up. Okay, so let's come back here, refresh. Okay, so it's sending it. This is even more curious. Now, if you can see something obvious, I'm sure you'll be sitting there screaming at me, but just give me a moment. I've just got to walk through this and see what is going on. Aha! We got this in quotes. It's a variable. So let's just try. Okay. And there we go. So that was the problem. There was a few problems. One was too many IDs. You only need one per field. So we'll just stick to the password and the email. The names. Now I'm just going to prove that. I'm just going to take the name one for the email and just show you what happens if you don't have that in there. Don't be afraid to mess around with this stuff, because this is how you learn. Don't just get it working and run away all the time. Just do it. So now look, the email hasn't been sent. It only knows the password because we haven't provided that name field. So that just proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that you need to have name in there. Okay? Which we knew, but we just proved it. So we need to have the name fields for both of the inputs. We've got the IDs, and that's all we need. The placeholders, that's lovely. We've got the ID for the submit button. We've got the event. This is an event which we know we're now hitting. We're retrieving the email and the password from the form, and then we're doing a serialize. So, but really we don't need both. And to prove that, let's comment this out. And I don't need these anymore, I'll just comment them out. So all we've got now is just serializing the form. Let's see what that does. Okay, so we refresh. Okay, and we'll just do. And again, we get a working result. I'll just prove that works. I'll just go beep, 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 beep. Okay, so that's now working. So let's have a look. What else can we do? So we don't need all this. You ever use one or the other, but not both. And if you're asking how would you use the other, well, instead of the serialize, you would pass each of these individually. It's probably neater to use the serialize. For one thing, it ensures you get all your form fields sent, because if you try and send these individually, you may miss one or two, which you'll soon find, but I think this sort of reads a bit better. So I'm sticking with that for now, especially if you've got lots of form fields. I mean, this is just an example where we're using two here. So we've got a URL, we've got a data, we've got the event. We don't really need this log here now, but we'll just leave that there. Now, I'll just refresh again to make sure we've got everything's been loaded properly. And submit, and it's still working. So, as far as this goes, that's now up and running. As to what it's meant to do, it isn't quite complete, but we're only looking at why we weren't getting the values back. So I think we've solved that. So just to recap what we did here, we had no jQuery, so I've referring to the CDN for jQuery just to make that simple. Now if you actually wanted to load this on your system and not have it relied on going off to the server, all you got to do is just grab this URL, go into your browser, just go new one, Control V, Control A, Control copy. So I've brought up the actual JS file. I'm just going to copy it, call it jQuery.min.js. So what we do now, we can just go back into our files. We'll find our assets.js. I'm going to create a new file called jQuery.min.js, and I don't have any versioning on there, but that's not a problem. And we'll paste that in. Okay, make sure that's saved. And now we'll just go back to our view, and instead of this link, what we'll do is just grab that and plunk that in here. Right, let's just see if that still works. What have we got? Alright, looks to be happy. We'll just check it again anyway. We'll do it manually. Actually, I just want to go view source. Don't need all this rigmarole. View page source. And then we'll just click on there. And yep, it hits the file and we get the result back. So that means we have the correct link. Now, these are relative URLs. And this can cause people a lot of problems. Ooh, I just noticed something here. Okay. Technically speaking, I can see this is being ripped out of somewhere as an example and being played with. That's fine. So we all learn. But it's good to be consistent. So let's just fix this up. And this guy. So we'll just tell her what the label's actually hooked onto. It's a minor thing, but it's good to be consistent. Now, one more issue, back to these relative links, and as I said before, these can cause problems. So the quickest way around that is to do this. Now, there are other ways to do this, because this is programming. Of course, there's many different ways to do things. This is just one, so we'll just stick with this for now, and I'm just going to go through these all. It's a good idea to do this. Just ensures that you get all your links right, and they'll always work, and everyone will be happy. Now I've got a few up here, or just the one actually, so we'll put that one in and fix that one up. Okay, so that's now made them more sensible. Now I haven't defined my base URL, so let's see what comes out. Okay, it has. It's picked it up. I may in fact actually have put that in. I'll just go check. Always good to check. You can never do enough checking. Let me see. Oh yes, I have. I told a lie before. I have actually put the link in, the actual URL in for this site. So that's all happy. That's why it's working. But if I was to take that out, what happens? Let's have a look. Now it comes up with this funky thing. Alright, this is kind of maybe fine for when you're running on a local web server as we are here. We're running on WAMP. Let's just see what happens. No, it doesn't like it. Okay, alright, so we'll just do the right thing here and put that, whoops, Control Z. So that's back, and we'll refresh, and we got a lovely form back. Now, if I don't, oh, it's actually now testing for something. Aha! It's now working better. It's now posting. It's not doing it right. What's changed? Ooh. Let's just refresh. Let's just get rid of this, because we don't want that nonsense going on. Something's changed and I can't remember what it is. So now it's using okay, so what we had happening was the form was being submitted, as well as trying to perform the AJAX. So we don't want that. So two things that we had to change. We had to add this in to prevent the form executing the actual submit itself and allowing the AJAX to do its thing. So to do that, we've had to put in the little variable E. You could put event in, just make it proper. Event makes it a bit more readable. Okay, so we had to add that in, and on the form itself we had to add the action. So the action we had to define as post, because if we don't do that, it will do this. We'll just see what happens when we take that out. I'll refresh the page and just get rid of the persist or clear that. Refresh again for good measure and just type in that in, and it still works. Okay, so we don't technically need that. That's good. We found that out. Alright, so we'll just go back and quickly have a look. So we'll just try it one more time. Refresh it. Get a new page. We'll just clear the persist. In fact, I might even just turn that off now. So just put an email, password, submit, and it's all happy. Now, just one more thing to prove it works is to comment this out and go back, refresh, and see. Now if we don't prevent the form from submitting, well, two things are going on here. With this instruction, this actually prevents the form doing its normal submit. So if we disable that, the form will try to submit, and because the action is not defined, it defaults to get, which is why we're seeing this. Okay, so this is now all explained. So just to triple prove this, if we set the method equals to post. Right, so we're back here and we just type this in again. Submit. Now what's happened there is the form is submitted, because you'll notice that a console message isn't there. So it does override it. So the form is still performing what a form does. And so we just want to disable that functionality. So we'll just put this back in. So our AJAX will happen properly. And go back. Refresh. Always refresh when you do changes. Oops. Just do it this way. That's a telltale sign that it's the form submitting. And make this not now. So we now get the response back. So just to recap quickly on that, to prevent the form from running, we need to add this instruction in. So in the function here in the click event, just put in a variable name, which is event, just for telling us it's an event. That's standard. And we're telling it to prevent default action of the form. So it inhibits the form actually executing as it would normally. And technically we don't need this then. But, I don't know. It's up to you what you do with that. So just for good measure, we just do it one more time. Okay, and you can say never. So we now have it working, and that's about it. So hopefully you got something out of that, and to the person who had this problem, I hope that all makes sense. If not, ask some questions and I'll happily answer them. Alright, well that concludes this little debugging session, and hopefully we'll have many more. Alright, I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.